World News. March 19, 2025. Israeli forces resume ground operations in Gaza, IDF says. Israel has resumed focused ground operations in the center of the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours, according to the Israel Defense Forces. Israeli forces have also taken control and re-expanded their control to the center of the Netzarim corridor, the line that separates northern Gaza from the south, an IDF spokesperson said. As a part of the terms of the ceasefire deal that went into effect on January 19, Israeli forces agreed to withdraw troops on the ground in Gaza to a buffer zone they carved out along the perimeter of Gaza, and troops remained in the Philadelphia corridor, the 8-mile-long border between Gaza and Egypt. During Phase 1 of the ceasefire deal, Israel withdrew completely from the Netzarim corridor. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz warned the residents of Gaza that the evacuation of the population from the battle zones in Gaza will begin again soon, in a video message in Hebrew on Wednesday. Katz encouraged Gaza residents to go to other places in the world for those who wish. Take the advice of the U.S. President. Return the hostages and eliminate Hamas, and other options will open up for you, including going to other places in the world for those who wish, Katz said. Last month, President Donald Trump called for the forced displacement of Palestinians in Gaza, drawing wide international criticism and accusations from allies and the United Nations. He has since said that Palestinians should want to leave voluntarily due to the destruction. Residents of Gaza are currently unable to leave on their own because the border crossing into Egypt is closed. Prior to resuming ground operations, an Israeli official told ABC News that its renewed campaign of strikes on the Gaza Strip would continue until all remaining hostages are released. Palestinian health officials said that at least 436 people have been killed, including more than 130 children, according to UNICEF figures, since Israel renewed its bombardment of the coastal territory overnight Tuesday, marking the collapse of a ceasefire with Hamas that began in January. Another 678 people have been wounded. The official described the Israel Defense Forces' renewed attacks against Hamas in Gaza as a different form of negotiating, and said Israel had not closed the door to talks resuming via mediators if Hamas is willing to accept further hostage prisoner swaps. An Israeli official told ABC News on Tuesday that the offensive will continue as long as necessary and will expand beyond air strikes. Wednesday brought fresh strikes in Gaza. The IDF said it attacked what it called a Hamas military site in northern Gaza where preparations were being made to fire projectiles at Israeli territory. The Israeli Navy also struck several vessels in the coastal area of the Gaza Strip, which the IDF said were slated for use by Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Israel's renewed campaign in Gaza marked the end of nearly 2 months of relative quiet in the region, which has been devastated by intense fighting since October 2023. The ceasefire saw 33 Israeli hostages released from Gaza in return for the release of nearly 1,800 Palestinian prisoners from Israeli prisons. 59 hostages are believed to remain in Gaza, 24 of whom are presumed to be alive. Eden Alexander is the last American-Israeli hostage still thought to be alive. Several members of Hamas administrative and civil wings were killed in the renewed strikes. They included Deputy Minister of the Interior Major General Mahmoud Abu Tufa and Deputy Minister of Justice Omar al-Hada. Thank you for listening. Canada Politics News. March 19, 2025. Federal Conservative leader stops in Sudbury with promises of unlocking Ring of Fire. Pierre Poilievre vowed to approve all federal permits in Ring of Fire within 6 months. The federal Conservative leader is in Sudbury today making promises, if elected, to unlock access to critical minerals in the Ring of Fire and build a new road into the remote mining camp in northwestern Ontario. The Ring of Fire could make Canada very rich. It would be life-changing for northern Ontario towns, galvanizing thousands of paychecks and modern infrastructure, Pierre Poilievre said at a news conference Wednesday. In a news release, Poilievre said his party would greenlight all federal permits for the Ring of Fire within 6 months to speed the extraction of chromite, cobalt, nickel, copper, and platinum, describing this as essential for the Canadian economy in the face of U.S. trade tariffs. The Ring of Fire region, about 500 kilometers northeast of Thunder Bay, is said to be rich in critical minerals, but development has been slow over the past 15 years. In addition to speeding up federal permits, Poilievre said in Sudbury, he would spend $1 billion over 3 years to build a road linking the mineral deposits and nearby First Nations to the Ontario Highway Network, while allowing companies investing in the Ring of Fire to pay a share of their federal corporate taxes to local First Nations. When asked whether he supports processing the extracted minerals in Sudbury, Poilievre said he absolutely does. Sudbury is the hub. It's the hub for the supplies that go into our mines, but it's also the hub where the minerals should go to be refined, upgraded, and then shipped to market all around the world, he said. Poilievre also framed his plan for the Ring of Fire as a way to reduce Canada's reliance on the United States, especially as the prospect of new U.S. trade tariffs looms. He criticized the Liberal government's economic record, arguing Canada has become weaker and more dependent on the U.S. under Liberal leadership. We've lost $500 billion in investment to the Americans, making us more dependent after 10 years of Liberals on President Trump, he said. When asked about the U.S. President's recent comments that a Liberal government would be easier to negotiate with, Poilievre said that's because Liberals have made Canada weaker. It's clear that President Trump wants the Liberals in power because they will keep this country weak, he said. Thank you for listening. Technology News. Google Pixel 9a. Google says new Pixel 9a phone delivers the best camera under $500. Google announced its latest affordable A-series smartphone, the Google Pixel 9a. The new phone promises many of the same features as Google's standard 9 series smartphones and an upgraded main camera. The $500 Google Pixel 9a features a fresh new look with a sleeker, flat profile and rounded edges. The device includes an upgraded 6.3-inch Actua display that is the brightest yet on an A-series phone at 2700 nits, a 35% improvement over the Google Pixel 8a. The screen also features an adaptive 120Hz refresh rate. The Pixel 9a is Google's most durable A-series smartphone yet. It has a metal frame and improved IP68 dust and water resistance. It also has the largest battery in an A-series smartphone, promising over 30 hours of power. For photographers seeking an affordable smartphone, the Pixel 9a promises significant improvements over its predecessor. In fact, Google claims the Pixel 9a has the best camera under $500. The phone has a 48-megapixel main camera and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide camera. Apple's new 16e smartphone, which is $600, also features a 48-megapixel main camera although it lacks an ultra-wide camera altogether. More specifically, the main camera is a 48-megapixel quad-PD dual-pixel module with a Type 1/2 image sensor and f/1.7 aperture. The 13-megapixel ultra-wide camera has a relatively small Type 1/3.1 image sensor, an f/2.2 aperture, and a 120-degree field of view. Rounding out the cameras is a 13-megapixel self-facing camera with an f/2.2 aperture and 96.1-degree field of view. Google does not specify this camera's sensor size, although it is a safe bet that it's small. AI is a significant emphasis for Google, and that also applies to the camera system. The Pixel 9a features AI-powered super residential zoom, up to 8x, ADME, and more. The smartphone features a macro focus photo mode, night sight, astrophotography, portrait, panorama, and long exposure modes. There are also AI-powered photo editing features like Magic Editor, Autoframe, Reimagine, Magic Eraser, Best Take, Photo Unblur, and Portrait Light. When it comes to video, the Google Pixel 9a can use either of its rear cameras to record 4K video at up to 60p and 4K/30p video using its self-facing camera. The phone supports audio Magic Eraser, Cinematic Pan, slow motion recording up to 240 frames per second, time-lapse, and more. The Google Pixel 9a starts at $499 and comes in 4 colorways: peony, iris, porcelain, and obsidian. Thank you for listening.